They were Hollywood royalty, a power couple admired and loved by millions. So when the public found out that Rob and Michelle Reiner were murdered, the reaction was overwhelming. Grief and sadness covered Hollywood and covered the nation. Then the story took an unexpected twist when the Reiner's own adult son, Nick, was arrested. Now Nick has the highest profile criminal defense attorney in the country representing him, Alan Jackson. And everyone is wondering, what will his defense be? Tonight, we take a look at where it may go on the eve of Nick Reiner's formal arraignment in court. But first, silence wrapped the Columbus home where Spencer Tepe, a 37-year-old dentist, and his wife Monique should have been starting an ordinary Tuesday. Instead, worry spread. Spencer missed work. Monique didn't answer her phone. Neighbors heard crying. Frantic calls went to 911. When police finally entered on December 30th, the house held answers no one was ready for. Spencer had been shot multiple times. Monique lay nearby, killed by a gunshot to the chest. Their two young children were inside, alive, unharmed, and crying in the dark. There were no signs of forced entry, no firearm at the scene, and investigators ruled out murder-suicide almost immediately. Now, a week later, the killer remains unknown. But now a surveillance video of a person of interest has been released by law enforcement. Is this the key to finding a killer? I'm Vinnie Politan. Thank you so much for joining us tonight here on Closing Arguments, and we're learning a lot more about the couple from Columbus, Ohio, Spencer and Monique Tepe. These two were married in their home, in their house. I saw the wedding video. I watched it today. It was an amazing video. It was an amazing wedding, and you could feel it, the love inside that home as you watch this video. This couple coming together, surrounded by, it wasn't a big crowd because it's in their house, so it's their closest friends and family that are there, and they're having the times of their lives. It was really amazing. And then I thought about it for a moment. I was like, that was a beautiful moment, a beautiful wedding inside this lovely new house that they have. They were also murdered at that home. And I was thinking, how tragic is that? How sad is that? This beautiful home filled with such a beautiful moment, and then so quickly, without having an opportunity to watch your kids grow up, without having the opportunity to grow old together, their lives were taken inside that home. So now the latest, and we brought it to you last night, moments after it was released by police, there's a video of a person of interest that police want to track down. And it's like many videos that we see, unfortunately, right? It's a little bit grainy, a little bit dark, and the person walking by is keeping their head down and their hood up. Now, it's 23 degrees out, so I get it, but it may also be so you don't actually see who's walking down the street. So is this the key to unlocking the mystery of this double murder in a house where a couple got married, in a house where the couple's two young children, ages 4 and 1, were in the next room on that top floor? Or is the key to this case, to finding this killer, trying to figure out why Spencer and Monique were murdered? I could see it going either way, right? You follow the video, you see where this person goes. Maybe they get into a car, maybe you get a plate, maybe you get a license plate number. Or maybe someone recognizes the person in the video, or you dive into the lives of this couple and find out what was going on and who had anything bad to to say about them or had some sort of conflict with them for whatever reason, whether it's imaginary or real. Because it doesn't look like they were there to burglarize or rob the home. Nothing was taken. Now, the video. Let's show it to you one more time. This is in between 2 and 5 a.m., which is the time that they believe the murders are taking place. So it's early morning hours going from Monday into Tuesday morning. And if you look on the ground, you see some snow. You see the head down covering the hood. Again, it is 23 degrees. I mean, we're in Columbus, Ohio in December. I mean, it's cold. It's absolutely cold. This is the week of New Year's. Here's what the Columbus police released with this. Detectives believe the murder of Mr. and Mrs. Tepe occurred sometime between 2 and 5 a.m. on the morning of December 30th in the upstairs of their residence. There's three levels to this home, right? There's the bottom level, which is a finished sort of basement area, the main level, and then there's the top level where the bedrooms are. Recovered video footage shows a person of interest walking in the alley near the Tepe's residence during that time frame of 2 to 5, right? It's kind of an unusual time to be walking around by yourself. Take a look at this map. I'll show you where the house is, Spencer and Monique's house. Beautiful home. This is on North 4th Street, and the closest intersection is 8th Avenue. Now, what you have to notice about them is that they have a garage, but it's not connected to the home. So it's sort of a separate structure that is behind their home. This garage faces the alley behind their home. And there you see that yellow line, that's the alley. And this alley runs from 7th Avenue just past 9th Avenue. And part of it, obviously, is the set of homes, these new homes that were built in the neighborhood. And then you have some older homes on either side. But it's described as the alley near the home. That's the alley near their home where this video comes from. Now, Rob Misla, Spencer's brother-in-law, spoke to News Nation and talked about this piece of evidence that was released. Take a listen.
You know, when I first saw it, yeah, I do think, you know, suspicious looking person there. It also very well could be, you know, somebody walking home drunk from a bar. But, you know, it's evidence nonetheless that hasn't been released until now. And it's good that they're kind of progressing through this.
And he's kind of been the front person for the family. He is the brother of Monique and the brother-in-law of Spencer. And he was actually the wedding photographer as well. He's a professional photographer. So a lot of these pictures you've been seeing everywhere of Spencer and Monique. And the video we watched today is something that he produced. Beautiful work that he's been doing. And he's been the spokesperson for the family. He's been out there giving some information. Now, one thing that he said there, though, was that, well, it could just be, you know, somebody walking home from the local bar. So we took a look at the neighborhood to see, are there any bars in the neighborhood, and are there any that are open on a Monday night that late? Well, Oldfield's North 4th Tavern is the only bar open until 2 a.m. on Monday nights. And it's the only one within a 15-minute walk, right? So we went on Google, figured out what bars are within 15 minutes, you know, by foot of that alleyway. And this one is just a 5-minute walk to get to Tepe's house. So I'm understanding what the brother-in-law is saying is, yes, it could be the suspect, but it could also be maybe someone who was at the bar that night and is walking home from the bar, which you can see is just north of where the house is. So the alleyway is right next to it. So that's a possibility as well. So where does this leave us? How are they going to solve this case? Let's bring in our think tank. Joining me tonight, criminal defense attorney, former head New Jersey County prosecutor Bob Bianchi's with us, along with former police lieutenant and trial attorney Rick King, and national parenting and family relationship expert Dr. Sue Kornbluth. Great to see everyone. All right, Bob, what do you think of it? Well, let me start with the former officer Rick King. What do you think of the surveillance video? What are your thoughts? They're calling him a person of interest. Obviously, someone's walking around 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning on the night that a murder took place. You brought to talk to him. What are your thoughts here?
I mean, it's a video of someone walking by the house, and so, you know, normally you would call that person at this point a person of interest, but as you pointed out, that could be anything. That could be, there's cars parked in that alley. That could be anybody walking anywhere. The police have a lot of work to do, and normally these investigations start inward and then move outward. So I think where they would have started, from my experience, they would have started looking inward. In other words, the metadata from telephones. So they'd probably do a cell phone extraction, look and see the whereabouts of the couple of Spencer and Monique the last few days, to see who they interacted with, who they called with, things like that. There's going to be license plate reader information they're going to try to gather, other ring cameras from neighborhood cameras. I mean, the focus, I believe, will start inward and then move outward. And the video is an example of it now moving outward.
Bob, I'm looking at that video, and I'm shocked that this is all they have right now. In the world we live, this is a city. This is not some rural town. This is Columbus, Ohio. There's an actual ring camera on the front door of the Tepe's house. But apparently, I guess that didn't pick anything up. There's no forced entry here, so someone either knows the code to get into the home to get in, or they were let in by the Tepes. There was no sign of anyone breaking in, but there's no video of anyone in front of the house. I mean, what do you think's going on here?
Okay, I agree with Rick completely. They're going to start from the inside and go out. So, first of all, they have a lot of data we don't have right now, but having been the person that's led investigations like this, they're going to do a whole social history on these people. And actually, what we used to say is, and again, please take this we're not saying they've done anything wrong, but there is no forced entry. There is no murder-suicide scenario because there's no weapon. We're starting to rule out certain things. We're not seeing right now, to our knowledge, theft. So we're looking at this as maybe somebody that knows them. So what was going on in their relationships? What's happening with regard to potentially a disgruntled person professionally, or somebody that maybe socially, or maybe some criminal activity. I'm not saying these guys are engaged in criminal activity, but I've seen things from gambling debts, drug issues. They're going to be looking through those phones. I agree with Rick. They're going to be spatially mapping where these people have gone. They're going to be looking through all their search history. They're going to have to start with the victims and, again, move out. But I think they may have other evidence, and I agree with Rick also, last point. The LPRs, the license plate readers, are something that's going to come into place as well. So it's not unusual at this point in time, Vinnie, and they're doing a lot of things. And right now, the hard part for them is information management. I think Rick would agree with me, making sure that all those detectives that are out there are coordinating in a central place and giving all the data so it can be analyzed, because a lot of times connections and don't get connected because one person knows something that another person doesn't. That's the big thing that they got to watch out for right now.
Yeah,
if I can jump in for a second.
Yeah,
we call that link we call that link analysis, and what you want to make sure is that we are linking the things that need to be linked together at the same time. And also remember, Vinnie, there's information that they're not telling us. They're not going to put everything out to us and give it all to us, because there are some things, these investigative leads, they need to hold close to the vest to make sure that, you know, they have the element of somewhat surprise when they are looking or they're closing in on something.
Yeah, and what I'm thinking is, if they're looking for help on this video, they don't have a better video of the person. If they had a better video of the person, they would put that out. And this is one of those classic grainy type of videos. Almost looks like the guy that was walking across the bridge in the Delphi case. It's got that kind of feel to it. So it could be a lot of people. You could eliminate some people, but it's a very generic kind of look. Dr. Sue, I'm just interested in your thoughts as you're watching this person walk on the video. I'm interested in what everyone has to say. Does it look like he's hiding from the camera? Does it look like he's drunk? Or does it look like he's just walking in 23-degree weather in Ohio?
You know, I've watched this over and over, Vinnie, and it's very difficult to see really what he's doing. You could say that it looks like he's just somebody walking through the neighborhood. He's freezing. He's, you know, has his hands in his pocket because he's cold. He's walking at a very slow pace. He's not running. So who knows if this is a person of interest or not? Oftentimes when you see camera like this with a person walking by and you don't see any other people around, yeah, you would say to yourself, this could be a person of interest. However, Vinny, in this particular case, if somebody recognized this guy already, don't you think they would have called in and said, I recognize him from somewhere? I think we've seen this in other cases. The fact that somebody went in the home and it appears that they walked in and there was no forced entry, it seems to me like what Bob said, that it probably may be somebody that they know, or, a bad deal has gone wrong. Not saying that anything criminally happened here, but it's rare.
Rick, from the crime scene itself, it's someone going into a house. This is happening between 2 and 5. We know the victims found up on that second floor that we're looking at. One victim seen by a 911 caller sort of lying off the edge of the bed. When we think about what you're looking for, what you'd expect to find, do you think there's going to be any sort of physical evidence? Did get shell casings, I get that, but anything that could be connected to a human?
I mean, there's the possibility. When I was a young police officer, I had a training sergeant. His name was Parkinson. And Parkinson taught us all that a latent print is a chance impression. In other words, and they're not always going to show up there. So there's a chance there might be a latent print there that don't always happen. There's also DNA that may or may not exist. It may not be there. We don't know. But they're going to be checking for latent prints. They're going to be checking for DNA. They're going to be checking for some sort of any type of evidence that the person may or may not, or may have left behind. Something that the first place they're going to start clearly is the shell casings. I mean, hopefully they're able to find some sort of latent evidence on those shell casings. But it's a chance impression. There's only a chance they're going to find it.
Bob?
Vinny, to your point,
go ahead.
What happens a lot of times is that these teams go in forensically and they start with the bodies and they literally vacuum all the way back, all trace evidence. It could be fibers, could be DNA. It's a very methodical process, takes many, many hours, and they're going to try to use, many times the bad guy leaves stuff behind.
And then I think about this case, and I'm wondering, what unlocks, the answer to this mystery. And what I'm hearing from both of you think it's coming from their lives rather than the physical evidence?
More so. Not totally, but more so.
You don't need a motive to prove a case, but when you're investigating a case, you're looking for the motive first here in a scenario like this. And they're going to find it, I believe, they're going to find it in the forensic computer data and the download of the cell phone towers in the area. That's where they're going to go, and they're going to, if they connect the dots, I think they're going to find something there.
Now, Dr. Sue Kornbluth, everything we've heard from everyone, incredibly happy people, happy marriage. Dr. Spencer, was described as being like bigger than life. Like he walks into a room, he kind of like takes it over with his booming personality, which I think was one of the reasons why when he didn't show up to work, everybody was so concerned, because this guy, brings the energy wherever he goes. Like he's excited to go to work, to help his patients and to be with his colleagues. What are your thoughts about trying to uncover their lives to see who may have been out to get them for whatever reason?
I mean, look, Vinny, I think we've seen in so many cases on court TV and across this nation that you truly don't know what is going on in someone's lives behind the scenes. So he could be putting out one kind of personality to everybody in the world, and behind closed doors, he's someone different. I'm not saying that is what has happened here, but it's a theory that could be happening here. I also don't know what else he was involved in. Or could it have been a disgruntled patient? Or could it have been that he was into prescribing drugs that he shouldn't have been doing? There is so many theories here. But at the end of the day, like the attorneys said, I hope that they get to the bottom of this and they start looking at the cell phones, conversations, interviewing everybody and asking, have you ever seen any odd behavior here? It could be the same for her too. We don't know if it was just about him. It could be about her too. This is going to be uncovered over time. I think we're all going to see that.
The part that has me really, every time I think about all the possibilities of what could have happened is, but there's no forced entry. Like someone had the code, or the door was unlocked, or they were let in, but who's letting somebody in at 2 o'clock in the morning? Unless they were there all night, but there's no evidence of that.
You don't do that with 2 kids. You call 911 if you don't know somebody not there.
Correct.
Right. All right, let's do this. Think tanks staying where they are. When we come back, more on the Tepe family mystery, the Tepe family tragedy, plus coming up next hour.
Tonight on Vinnie Politan Investigates, he says scammers convinced him his family was in danger. Then a stranger knocked on his door, and moments later, she was dead. Was this a panicked mistake or an unforgivable crime? Tonight, we investigate.
I'm going to ask you a lot of intensely personal questions.
From the crime scene to the courtroom, this is Victim to Verdict.
Everyone has this heightened sense of anticipation.
What a day here at Court TV.
Fireworks both inside and outside the courthouse.
Let the cameras roll.
This individual, Spencer, works with me, and he did not show up to work this morning, and we cannot get a hold of him or his family. He is always on time, and he would contact us if there was any issues whatsoever. And I just don't know how else to say this. Like, we're very, very concerned because this is very out of character. And we can't get in touch with his wife, which is probably the more concerning thing.
I can hear kids inside, and I swear I think I heard one yell, but we can't get in. At this point, I don't know if I need to break the door in or just get in the house or what.
Our boss did not report for work. We haven't been able to get a hold of him for 3 hours. We are on site and we can hear.
Okay,
the
body. Our friend wasn't answering his phone. We just did a wellness check. We just came here and he appears dead. Okay. There's blood. He's laying next to his bed, off of his bed, and there's blood.
Incredibly tragic. But you saw the concern of all their friends and colleagues, neighbors, and folks from work. They knew this couple, and they knew something was wrong. And then they heard the screams, the crying from inside, from the children who were left in there alone. And now they'll have to grow up without their mom and dad. Monique and Spencer Tepe got married January 30th, 2021 in the home in Wineland Park neighborhood of Columbus, Ohio. A video of this intimate, beautiful ceremony and reception was posted on Rob Misla's YouTube channel. He is Spencer's brother-in-law. The newlyweds posed for pictures outside of the house and the surrounding streets. You can see the ceremony took place in the Tepe's living room on the first floor of the home. The same home where they would be found dead just 5 years later. I told you, it was an amazing, intimate, beautiful ceremony. Even later on that night, it started to snow when they were outside taking pictures as the snow fell in Ohio. But could you imagine being married in the same place where someone decides to take your lives and orphan your children? Still with me, Bob Bianchi, Rick King, Dr. Sue Kornbluth. Dr. Sue, just that contrast of that beautiful wedding, starting a life together, bringing life into the world together, and then losing your life, all within those four walls.
Yeah, it's beyond tragic. You know, when I heard what happened and I heard the kids were upstairs, I mean, my heart sunk. They heard this and they're young, and this trauma is massive, and it is going to stick with them for a very, very long time. They're going to feel it in their body. They heard it in their minds. And the saddest tragedy of all is that they're very young and they don't have either of their parents in their lives anymore. I often wonder, where are they now? Who are they with? Do we know if they went to grandparents or family?
I think the brother-in-law, I think Rob, the brother-in-law, and I think he's married, I'm not sure, is taking care of them right now. And that's a tough job. That is a tough job.
Yeah, I mean, these kids are young, you know, and they're traumatized. So it makes the job of parrying them even harder. And if he remains as the parent moving forward, or if he adopts them, I mean, we don't know what's going to happen. It's going to be a very long haul for all of them to get through this. This is a tragic, tragic loss. And because of the impact of it and the way that it happened, these children are going to have difficulty for the rest of their lives.
So, Bob, whoever did this, you're in this you know that this couple has these two children. You know, I'm trying to understand who this person is and why they would do this. Knowing what you're doing to these two innocent children, you're deciding to take a life. It seems like the victims were upstairs in bed. So I'm picturing someone coming in the house, them not knowing it. And getting up there and taking them out very quickly.
Yeah, Vinnie, when I heard that fact just before or during this segment, the fact that they're upstairs, or he is at least in the bedroom, that's where he's found, is a significant fact to me. And it's very odd that there's no break-in and they're upstairs, or he's upstairs at least. You would think that he was asleep at nighttime. So that makes it even a little stranger with regard to the entry. But I do want to pick up on one point that you mentioned with the children. This is what we see when we do this work. And you can't help but, after seeing years of this and the families that are, you know, the kids and all the afterburn of this, is I lecture and have given TEDx talks on deathbed confessions as a prosecutor and EMT about the fragility of life. And recognizing that it can end at any point in time. You never know. For something crazy like this, maybe we'll figure it out. I'm sure we will down the road. But I think you're onto something when we talk about the damage that's done and how we should be grateful every day of our lives that we're here, because it's not a guarantee. And this is a perfect case to illustrate that.
Yeah. Rick, final thoughts on the story tonight? And go ahead.
I just don't think you can ever rule out the possibility that someone with a mental health issue might have been involved. And I think, and even in cases where anyone who does anything like this clearly has some mental health issue, but that the thought of the children to someone who would commit something like this, I don't think that's in the metric. I don't think they really calculate or think about that going forward. I wonder, though, if there was anything, some sort of forensic interview the children will be able to bring out in this case. Because if it seems to me, like, part of my thought is, man, if they were upstairs, that it's almost as if the person had to be in the house prior and maybe led them upstairs or led them upstairs. And I'm wondering if the children saw someone there earlier, and that's something that they haven't really been able to tap into or haven't released yet. I just don't know.
All right, think tank's standing by. When we come back, big day tomorrow for accused double murderer Nick Reiner in court with his attorney Alan Jackson for his arraignment. We've got some new details that have come up in this case. That is next.
On December 14, 2025, LAPD officers from our West Los Angeles division responded to a death investigation at the 200 block of South Chadbourne Avenue, which is in the Brentwood section of Los Angeles. Upon entering the residence, they discovered the bodies of Mr. and Mrs. Reiner. Detectives from our Robbery Homicide Division Homicide Special Section immediately initiated a comprehensive investigation. The evidence gathered led to the arrest of their son, Nick Reiner, who was taken into custody later that night without incident in the Exposition Park section of our city.
Okay, so tomorrow will be a big day for the official arraignment of Nick Reiner inside the courtroom. We'll have his high-profile defense attorney, who was a prosecutor in that courthouse for years, Alan Jackson, representing him. We've got some new information. People magazine reporting this. Nick Reiner, no longer on suicide watch at the Twin Towers Correctional Facility. People can exclusively confirm, according to the LA County Sheriff's source. When Nick entered the jail system on December 15th, he was placed under heightened supervision. He's currently being held in solitary confinement, excuse me, where he's required to wear a yellow jail-issued shirt, blue pants, according to the same source. The jail has since removed the suicide prevention smock that he was required to wear at all times. The sheriff says that Nick Reiner will not be released from high observation housing unless a judge or a court hearing determines otherwise, and he'll be housed alone and monitored. So that's the latest status of him. People also reporting this, that records obtained by people show that police went to the Brentwood home twice in 2019. Once for a call coded as a welfare check, and once for a call classified as mental health related. The first call, placed 9:51, February 25th, was logged as a welfare check that instructed officers to go to a woman upon arrival. According to LAPD records reviewed by People, officers arrived at the home at 10:12, completed the call, and reported the incident to a supervisor. Months later, this is September now of 2019, police responded to a mental health related call for service involving a male individual placed at 424. Officers arrived at the residence, 507, informed a supervisor that they found no indication of mental illness. The records do not identify the person who contacted police or the individual who was the subject of either call. And we've also heard some reporting relative to Rob Reiner, what he was saying in September of last year. So this is just a couple months before the murder, saying in the build-up to Spinal Tap, the movie, he was talking about his son, Nick, and he said that his son, Nick, had been clean for 6 years. So with this information, where are we going now in this trial? Still with me, Bob Bianchi, Rick King, Dr. Sue Kornbluth. All right, Bob, where do you think Alan Jackson is going to go with this? I don't see this as a whodunit. Do you?
No, they're going to go with the mental health / addiction, either for an insanity at the time that the crime was committed. Sometimes when you're killing your parents, it almost speaks of that, although the standard to prove that is very, very hard. But there's also a middle ground here. It's diminished capacity. That's if temporarily, at a certain point in time, even if he knew what it was that he was doing, he was so enraged. What it may be right now, if you can get your client to agree to this, to go forward with this defense, isn't an outright not guilty by reason of insanity, but is something less. And that may shave the time down to a 10-year sentence, and at least there's some hope at being, released because he's a young man. And right now, it's also going to be the plea negotiation game. The defense wants to make sure he's not charged with the death penalty. And maybe I'm going to run down there if my client's willing and saying, if you can give me a factual basis, let's work a deal out right now. So we have to go through the necessity of a trial. Last point, a lot of that's going to come down to what the victim's family, the remaining children, how they view this case as well, because that's going to be important in how prosecutors resolve it. So those are all the options on the table right now, Vinnie.
Yeah. Dr. Sue, the two issues that are kind of, go back to 2019 here, potentially, what they were dealing with. They're dealing with addiction, but now there's the talk of mental illness. Chicken and the egg. Is it significant to you to try to determine which came first here?
It's not really significant because at this point he has murdered his parents, but it could have came the addiction first, which then led him to have mental health problems, or he could have had mental health problems first that led him to the addiction. Look, I think he had a troubled life for a very, very long time. I think his parents were well aware of this. I think that they stepped in as much as they could. At times, I suspect they may have enabled him because no one wants to believe that their child could be as messed up as they are. And I think that goes along with this in some way. We'll never know. That's a speculation. But with having Alan Jackson as his attorney, Vinnie, and as great as he is, I think that he will be committed to a mental health facility for the rest of his life, is what I think, though.
Rick, what are your thoughts? Tomorrow's really day one of this legal process.
Yeah, I mean, tomorrow is going to be, it's an arraignment, so it's just an opportunity to plead not guilty, yes, for trial by jury, discovery, that type of thing. But to follow up on something that Bob said, I think what this will come down to really is what the family wants, what the remaining of the members of the family want. Because I think if they are somehow soft to their brother, their remaining family member, I think that you're looking for some sort of mitigated resolution that gives him some help.
Yeah, you know what's interesting about that? I'm still trying to figure out how Alan Jackson got the case. Because I don't think Nick called him. I mean, it could have been a brother or a sister that did it, right? And that might give us some indication.
I think that's probably what happened. Alan Jackson is, a renowned lawyer who represents tons of celebrities. He's gotten people off like Karen Reed, who many people thought wouldn't. So somebody in that family definitely reached out to him and thought to themselves, he will give us the best chance. And I don't know if it was the siblings or not. That may come out. We don't know fully what the relationship was between the siblings and their brother. I mean, I can only think, coming from a mental health perspective, it affected everyone in that family. And each family member probably reacted differently to him. And we'll have to see what happens here.
Great to see everyone. Bob Bianchi, Rick King, Dr. Sue Kornbluth, thank you so much. All right, folks, don't go anywhere. When we come back, I'll reveal something else you need to know tonight, plus coming up next hour.
Tonight on Vinnie Politan investigates an Uber pickup, a terrified homeowner, a single gunshot that changed everything. Did fear turn a victim of a scam into a killer? Tonight, we investigate.
Join Court TV's Vinnie Politan with the latest and breaking true crime stories.
Now, let's look at the other side of all of that.
Vinnie Politan investigates tonight, 9/8 Central, only on Court TV.
The school shooting that broke hearts around the country and broke trust with law enforcement.
Now, the officer sworn to protect those students faces a jury.
The Uvalde school massacre trial. Live coverage weekday mornings on Court TV.
Welcome back. Time to reveal something else you need to know tonight. Let's take a look at the big board. Trial day one right here on your front row seat to justice. That is Adrian Gonzalez, police officer charged in the Uvalde school massacre case. Today was day one of that trial. Let's take a look at some of the big moments.
So you see him shooting at children, and then what happened?
And then I just remember him going to the classrooms, and he started shooting in window by window until he got to the door where he walked in through. At that point, I just was begging 911 to please get officers out there, and then I saw a police officer arrive, and I was telling him he entered through that door. And that's the door that he entered through.
Oh my God! He jumped into the schoolyard. Into the schoolyard? Yeah, he just jumped up on the fence. He's running toward the school. He's wearing black. There's kids out there, please. Oh my God. Lord, please, protect these children. Father God, in the name of Jesus.
When did you do after the awards?
We went back to the classroom for a little bit, and then until it was time for them to go to rotation at the library. After I dropped them off, I went to a math interventionist room until it was time to pick my kids up from the library, and I actually picked them up about 10-15 minutes early that day so we could have extra recess.
What is it that disturbs your playground activity?
We heard sounds, and to me, I thought they were fireworks. And then I walked to, they had like bleachers in the middle of the playground so I could see my kids, and I didn't make it there until Coach Gonzalez picked up his radio and started yelling for us to get inside.
Okay. So the combination of hearing these fireworks and Coach Gonzalez, did you draw a conclusion from that?
Yes.
And what was that?
That there was gunfire. As we were all running into the classroom, I saw I don't know what to call him, horrible person, walking.
Just take your time. We can hold on.
Walking towards the door.
Can you describe him for us?
He had all black, long hair, and a gun.
At some point, you were relieved or you evacuated. Is that correct? Tell us about that.
We kept hearing knocking on the door, and we were taught, don't answer the door. Somebody will come in and get you. But after several times knocking, and again, I was on the opposite side of the room. One of the teachers, she peeked open the curtain to see, I guess, who it was. And it was law enforcement. And so at that point, she opened the door. They came and said, we're going to move you guys to the parking lot. We sat there for a little bit and then ended up going to an empty field off of campus, and while we waited for buses, I still at this point didn't have all of my students, and so I gathered the ones that I did have, and I told them, stay here, we're not getting on this bus, and waited.
For what?
For the rest of my kids.
And a major moment inside that courtroom played out, and now testimony is canceled in the trial tomorrow. The defense and prosecutors will work through an explosive witness issue during a hearing tomorrow afternoon. Former Robb Elementary School teacher Stephanie Hale was testifying about where she saw the gunman heading toward the school, but the defense said that information was not shared by prosecutors as required, and defense attorney Jason Goss said this has become a trial by ambush, and the Uvalde County DA was even sworn in outside the jury's presence, and she too was caught off guard by the testimony and conceded that holding back material during discovery is a Brady violation. The parties will meet tomorrow to hash this out without the jury being there. That is a major, major issue. Make sure you tune in for the latest on that. Right now, please take a look at your television screens because we have a child who needs your help. This is Kristen White. He's 15 years old, missing out of Charlotte, North Carolina since New Year's Eve. If you see Kristen, please pick up the phone, make a call, make a difference. Here are the numbers you can call. You can call 911, 1-800-THE-LOST, or you can call the Charlotte Mecklenburg Police Department. That phone number's on your screen right now. Let's see if we can get Kristen to a safe place tonight. Don't go anywhere. We have another hour of live true crime. Vinnie Politan Investigates is next. In the meantime, please don't forget to hug the kids.